2 tenders have been put out, apparently. One for Super League, which is, worth billions of pounds. And one for pretty much everything that's owned by the Rugby Football League, which includes the Challenge Cup and the Internationals and the Championship and League One. And I assume the Women's Super League, but no one knows where that quite fits, even though it's got the Super League name. It belongs to the RFL. Well, whatever. The Super League deal seems... it seems obvious where that will end up, doesn't it? Because BT have shown no interest in Rugby League to date, have they? Or are we all pinning our hopes on people on the internet saying, oh, well, Channel 4 lives in Leeds now, and Amazon have just bought International Rugby Union. So I was very disappointed. I watched 2 episodes of Steph's Packed Lunch, and there's been no mentions of Rugby League. So those campaigns from people on Twitter have completely failed. And her studio's in the middle of Leeds. I don't know. I'm on the high horse again.
I'd be stunned if Super League was on anything other than Sky Sports beyond 2021, personally. But I guess we've got to go through the pretense that other people are interested.
I mean, you mentioned that Rugby Union's on Amazon Prime and a couple of live games on Channel 4, and the highlights of some of the cricket has been on the BBC. And do you know what amounts have been paid for any of this?
Well, the interesting thing with those cricket games on the BBC, and they made a big song and dance about it. And don't get me wrong, this is not an anti-BBC thing, as people taking us. They made a big song and dance about having these games. They had 2. It's not as if they had a full series or anything. They had 2 matches.
But have they paid for, and has the amount that they have paid for, has Amazon Prime laid out what Rugby Union would call a significant amount of money? Or are they the only people that are picking stuff up at the moment because it's so cheap? I think that Paul's 100% right, that, our broadcast option for Super League will be to maintain our relationship with Sky. My only worry, reading some of the things that Sky are going through at the moment, is that if I was on their negotiating team and I knew I was virtually the only party in bidding, I'm not sure I'd be going for a hugely inflated amount, if at all. So I think, it's very difficult to negotiate with only one party. As for greater exposure for other competitions on things like Channel 4 or Channel 5, bite-sized pieces of the NFL that we see go around, you've got to accept, I think, that you're not going to get any money for that. That you have to make a decision at some point that can you trade on the back of the exposure it gives you rather than the actual rights money that's going to come in for it. And Jonathan Liu, who we know follows and watches and is a fan of Rugby League, he goes to the major events, and I think he's a genuinely sympathetic fan of the sport whenever you get the chance to speak to him a game. He's just written a piece really interesting in The Guardian today about what does television rights even mean anymore, because if it is just highlights packages, because we as a sporting audience no longer have the desire or capacity to sit there for the full length of a game and watch it, and what is selling sports and becoming the rights to be bought are the highlights packages, then A, there's not as much money on those, but B, we need to do something about the ones that we produce, because we've got some brilliant acrobatic stuff that we can sell. We've got some squirrel grips that we can sell. We've got some other stuff that we can sell. But at the moment, we're geared up to, here's an 80-minute game. What would you like to do with it? And I think we're going to have to be cuter than that.
No. Well, we've been saying this for years, though, that we need to make stars. And I guess you listen, to be fair, to the Super League team of Robert Elston and their nice new Manchester HQ, which I don't even know if they're even there anymore because of COVID.
Cobwebs on the doors.
All their plans are just up in smoke, aren't they? They're limited in what they can do. I mean, they had a nice shiny TV show that had to be canned, and so I don't want to be too harsh on them, because it's been difficult for everybody to get our business done in this in this climate, in these circumstances. So I have to. I mean, I'm one of the people who've been given a bit of leeway to Toronto, so I have to give the same sort of leeway to Super League. We don't know what exactly they had planned to address that issue, which has clearly been an issue for a long time, as you say, Richard. So yeah, that's something that we need to address for when we come out of lockdown, that we've got a plan to make these people stars. I don't know how we do that. I like the idea of highlight. If we can get a highlights package on a broadcaster, a terrestrial broadcaster that isn't at stupid o'clock on Monday evening and is only available in like Lee, then we might stand a chance of that. So maybe Channel 4 will be interested. They've had success with highlights programs of random minority sports in the past. I mean, you remember the glory days of Kabaddi, Richard, I'm sure.
I mean, it's not even on Sky now. They've dropped the Kabaddi. That's how bad things are.
I think there's two things there on what you just mentioned about how highlights packages can sell sport. As far as I can remember, that's what broke the NFL here in the manner in which it is now. That clearly people supported it beforehand and knew about it, but when it started getting mass audiences was in the mid to late 80s, when Channel 4 did an hour's highlight package on a Monday to a rock music background, and people like me who'd heard of it but never had come across it or seen it in all its glory watched some team called the Redskins with some bloke called Theismann and some guy catching called Rice, and some team with a Lawrence Taylor and like the fact that I even know these names was purely based on a highlights package, and I didn't have a team that I could buy into. I didn't need to. I could just sit down for an hour on, I think it was a Monday evening when it started, and was it Sweet Dreams Are Made of This was the soundtrack that was on mainly at the back of the action, and suddenly became imbued with the fact that, sure, if a purist was watching, you'd be going, yeah, but what about the tackle and the interception and the linebacker and the zone defense? You're going, I don't care, I've just seen a brilliant touchdown. But that on the back of that, they built the sport to the point where here we are, 25 years later, where games are coming into this country and selling out. So I think there is some merit in clearly looking at that as a strategy. The other thing that I found really odd is it's not just administrators have got to decide what we mean by stars and how we promote them. I was amazed at the amount of social media traffic that was criticising the return of Sonny Bill Williams when he made his debut for the Roosters. He was only on for 15 minutes. What people didn't say was it did happen to be the 15 minutes that turned the game while he was on there. He galvanised his teammates, and his contribution may well have been 27 tackles on 5 metres or whatever it might have been, but actually him being on the field was the period when the Roosters won what was a game that was in the balance. But the fact that they were going back to the dressing room to see him tie his bootlaces while another game was on, they were seeing him combing his hair before he came out, they were seeing him stand up and sit down on the sideline when the game, he's a star. They were promoting a name that, if you were talking about rugby in its widest sense, how many people have heard of globally, he is one of them. He is in our sport. The Australian broadcasters focused almost obsessively on him about to make his debut again. That's how you sell a star. And too many of us said, oh, well, it's over the top. No, it isn't. That's how you market somebody.
I would like us to maybe you talked about the NFL on Channel 4 there, Phil. Gazzetta Football Italia. That was the big one for me when I was growing up.
Do you want to present highlights from a cafe,
well, I was thinking
with an ice cream or something?
Yeah, well, I was thinking, obviously you always used to have James Richardson, outside a nice plaza in Milan with a copy of Gazzetta. So maybe, you could have Gary Schofield outside, I don't know.
Not Toronto.
Outside Huddersfield Nando's with a copy of League Express or League Weekly or 4020 magazine, which is out this week, and talking about rugby league. I think it's a winner. I mean, it's a proven formula.
We've got proven formulas. Rugby League Raw won awards because the accessibility of our players, our coaches, everything we would do would benefit a broadcaster, and we would get some footage that other sports wouldn't allow you to get. We've proved that in the past. Let's do that again.
Because it's not happened, I can say we were going to do a thing like that with the Wakefield women this season because we got that access. But obviously, we're not being able to do that now because of the COVIDs. But
are you both drinking glasses of orange, or are you passing them between you? Because it's weird.
I don't see when this program goes out. I don't know where Paul will be on screen, so I can't act as if I'm.
A bit of editing magic.
My pen falls apart now. Lost my train of thought. What were we saying? About highlights. Women's Super League.
Behind the scenes with this team.
Danica on the Super League show. She'll never be on this program again now. Now she's been on proper telly. I think John Kay was jealous of her coat and the shoes. So we've got the Super League show. That's on the BBC. You know, it's a good program. It is what it is. I think Inside Super League was going in the right direction to be something different, which was attested to by the fact that Rugby League people didn't like it, because it wasn't, here's the highlights. It was a different kind of magazine show. I think that's the kind of thing we'll never know now. But it could have been something we'd have sold to somebody else other than our host broadcaster, Sky. But we never got the chance to see what would have happened there. But you're right, Phil, and a lot of sports bodies do this. They make syndicated programs to give away for free. World Rugby do it, the cricket do it. I don't know if I'm sure the Premier League football program, which goes out around the world, I'm sure some places pay for it and some places will get it for free or whatever.
China.
Yeah. That was a kind of program that would have been our version of that. As I said last week, I don't know why the NRL don't try and get their highlights on ITV4 or whatever, which has a history of showing things like the Tour de France or the German football highlights randomly. There are opportunities for us, and the one key here that I haven't mentioned yet, and yes, the big one is money. The other is visibility, and that's why it's important that the Challenge Cup and the internationals are on the BBC, and the World Cup's on there next year. It's okay saying, oh well, if we give it to Premier Sports and give us 2 hours a week or whatever, but no one's watching, and no one's going to flick up that high. So you have to have it on a channel people will watch, because the more people flick through, the less chance they'll get of getting to channel 600, because they've already found something on channel 133. So if we do sell our highlights package to someone else, it has to make sure it's on a channel people watch. Do people watch the Football League highlights on Quest? I don't know.
I think they do. I think they do if that's the place they know it is. But you only get a reputation by the quality of your programming. And I think because they've got the right presenter and they've got a format whereby it's more than just the goal highlights, then yeah, I think it does have a cult following, and that's what we've got. You mentioned the World Cup, and the one saving grace at the moment, I think, is everything that the World Cup are doing. And I know that John Dutton has mentioned that there clearly is a contingency that if it has to go back a year, it will. But next Monday, the first tickets go on sale. I think we've now seen the online shop open yesterday. That they are planning everything for it going ahead at the time scheduled in 2021. But the way they're going about doing it is the model for how we move forward as a sport, I think. And if they can get those kind of highlights programs and access behind the scenes programs, I think they're innovative enough to not only do that, but set a template for the rest of the sport to be able to do that.
I've said this before, and I have to say it again, and I wish people wouldn't, in our industry, sell the general public dreams that are just impossible. The last time Championship Rugby League was on telly was on Premier Sport, and before that it was on Sky for a couple of years. But there's been no interest from any other broadcaster to show it regularly. It's okay, people saying, oh, well, if this package of the internationals and the Challenge Cup and everything goes to the BBC, they'll be sticking Lee versus Swinton on. They won't, because they can do what Sky do and not show it. League One's not on anywhere. I know that there's an article in the paper about how League One's stronger than ever, but it doesn't matter, because third division sport of any kind isn't on TV apart from football. And people need to realise that. We can do more with it and try and do stuff on our league or whatever. And when we're at Radio Yorkshire, inquired about doing a highlights programme for the Championship where we take the footage from the clubs, we package it all together, stick it out online, and we were told we couldn't because somebody else had the rights to do it, and obviously it was never done. We have to do something ourselves to be proactive, to try and create a buzz around the Championship or League One. And it might be impossible. It might be. But I saw Sir Rodney Walker on the telly yesterday moaning about basketball getting no coverage. So what more can people wondering why the show wasn't on yesterday? I saw Sir Rodney Walker on the TV and fainted.
I'd have been moaning about Sir Rodney Walker being on the telly, to be honest.
I didn't realise he got his fingers in the basketball pie now. No wonder it's Oh, the dog's not happy either.
With
As soon as you mention Sir Rodney Walker, the people of Wakefield are up in arms.
I have to say your dog's not called Sir Rodney Walker. It's just answering.
No, Sky. Ironically enough, Sky.
Well, that'll be it. With regards to Championship and League One, I think you're right. I think personally, I would like the Challenge Cup rights to be sold separate to that, so that whoever you've sold the Challenge Cup to, you haven't given them away this product, which they'll probably, like you say, just discard. I would have thought there's something interesting you can do with Championship and League One, not just about Rugby League in a highlights format, but about the communities that those teams are in. And I would have thought then in the post-Brexit world and the working-to-man world, and, you know, perhaps some introspection and looking at some communities that have been ignored for quite a long time, I would have thought that there's an interesting sort of social political element as well on top of the sport that somebody, a creative broadcaster, the likes of Channel 4, for instance, could do. That if you, even to the point where you say to them, listen, you can have the highlight rights, we'll give you them for free. We'll also give you this access if you come and film our players and around the towns, the fans, speak to the fans. I think that would make an interesting program, not just to us, but to people outside. I don't know, maybe I'm kidding myself on that, but I would have thought that would be interesting. It's like all these communities, many of them who voted for Brexit, and this is life in those places, and it's also giving you the sport that means so much to those communities. Again, I've just made that idea up on the spot, but you can have it for free, RFL, if you're listening.
Make it a soap opera.
Exactly. You know, yeah. I mean, you see so many formats like that are just in general life, but I think if you added a sporting element, it could work. I think.
I agree.
What do I know?